Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the. Y'all don't really
Although it is
want it
similar to a
like that.
football field, a rugby pitch is unique. It is no more than 100 meters long, not including end zones, and 70 meters wide. A scrum occurs when the ball is put back into play after an infraction, and each team's forwards lock together in a set manner, trying to position the scrum so that each team's hooker can kick the ball back to their team. After scoring a try, the scoring team attempts to kick the ball through the uprights from any point on an imaginary line that runs the length of the field through where the ball was touched down. In rugby union, the conversion is worth 2 points. A try is the rugby equivalent of a touchdown in American football. To do it, you have to actually touch the ball in the try zone. In rugby union, a try is worth 5 points. A drop goal is worth 3 points and can be scored at any time during a play by simply kicking the ball through the uprights after it has been dropped and touched the ground. A ruck typically happens after a runner has been tackled and release the ball. Players will both rush to the ball to try to gain possession of it. A ruck is formed when any combination of 3 players from both teams bind together over the ball to try to push over and gain possession. A maul occurs when the player with the ball is wrapped up but not taken to the ground, and players from both sides bind together to push the ball forward, or backwards in the defense's case.
Teams, this would be defense. They start in a straight line, and when you're on offense, you start in a sort of formation. There's 4 fronts, and these are the people that would tackle, and there's 3 backs, and these are the people that are the runners. And basically, you start off with the person here, and they would kick the ball back here, and basically the backs would have the job, or the fronts, wherever the ball lands, of taking the ball and running forward. And once that happens, basically the offense is trying to get the ball as fast as they can to the end zone. And when you're running, you always have to be passing the ball backwards. This is why you have a little diagonal position. So usually it would look like something like, when you're on offense, it would look something like this. And this person would have the ball, and they would pass it back. And this person would run onto the ball, and then this person's falling behind, and they would pass it back. The ball is constantly getting passed back. And defense is on the other side, and they are trying to stay really tight together, pushing forward, so they're trying to make these people not be able to get past them. Because once the wing, right here, this is the position I played, gets past this line of defense, they
In
would score a
America,
try.
rugby is more of a mystery than a sport. We seem to think that it's similar to football, but it really is a completely different concept. Everybody has, or knows somebody who has, tried to watch a game of rugby, gotten confused, and changed the channel. Nobody seems to know enough about rugby to be able to follow it on TV. Although the game is a mystery in America, it is one of the most widely played sports in the world and is slowly becoming popular in the United States. In order to watch a full game of rugby without getting confused, you need to fully understand what the game is. In 1823, rugby was invented by a student named William Webb Ellis. During a game of football at the rugby school in Rugby, England, he picked up the ball and ran with it. At the time, neither modern soccer nor rugby had been formed. In soccer, there weren't any rules against picking the ball up, it just wasn't done. All the boarding schools in England played their own forms of football, and the rules developed differently at each. They played games within their school, but never against another school, so this wasn't a problem. At rugby school, the rules evolved to allow the player to run with the ball. After that, they allowed defenders to tackle the player with the ball. In 1845, rugby school published its Laws of Football, and this form of football turned into rugby. Oxford and Cambridge had competing football teams, but Oxford started to play rugby school's rules, while Cambridge played a game that evolved into modern-day soccer, or football, as it's called in Europe. In the early days of rugby, it was played as an amateur sport and was very boring to watch. In 1895, certain teams wanted to compensate their players for skipping work to practice and play. but others wanted to keep the sport the way it started. This caused the Great Schism of rugby. Nowadays, there are two different leagues of rugby, rugby union and rugby league. Rugby league is like the ugly stepchild in countries where rugby union is popular, and is unknown anywhere that rugby is uncommon. Rugby union wanted to keep the game played by members of the upper class, who had time and money to play for free. Because of the 1995 Rugby World Cup, rugby union decided to pay its players. And ever since then, rugby league, simply known as league, has struggled to keep up with rugby union. There are several differences in the rules, making the games very different to a trained eye. League has 13 players on the field for each team, whereas rugby union has 15 players on the field for each team. League's rules encourage fast-paced, physically demanding game, while rugby union's rules are more similar to the original rules of rugby. Who knows? Rugby might be the next big thing in America, or it might never catch on. Whether it does or doesn't, it will always be one of the biggest and baddest sports in the rest of the world.